This is not the quick speed shop. I got the whole top end of the 302 of my Boogie van tore apart. I had a problem with it. I think I fixed it. It's a struggle. I'll show you what I did right now. I'm a professional. Don't try this at home. Well, crap, this isn't the video I wanted to make next. If you saw me last time, we got the Boogie van running, the 302. Got it fired up after figuring out the fuel pump relay was no good. Got it jumpered and got the 302 running. So if you want to go back one video and watch that, you'll see what we're going to do next here. I've got a clatter on the left side of the engine. I think it's got a broken rocker arm or a broken rocker bolt, or the pivot or the push rod's bent or something. I had it running, I turned it around, pulled it in here. It could be just a lifter that won't pump up, maybe. I don't know, but it's very disconcerting. So right now I'm going to pull the valve cover off, and we're going to get a look at it and see what the heck is going on here. And unfortunately, or fortunately I should say, unfortunately, this is on the easy side to work on right here. It doesn't have the intake manifold laying over the valve cover. I ordered some parts on Rock Auto. I bought 2 rocker arms, 2 push rods, and 2 pair of valve cover gaskets and an intake gasket in case I got to pull that off. I'm going to mark my plug wires, and I'm going to pull them out, and then take off. Got some vacuum solenoids here, the coil, unbolt all this stuff, get it up out of the way, and then shouldn't be too bad to get the valve cover off and take a look and see what we got going on here. Yeah, that didn't take too long to get everything off there. The driver's side's real easy. So all the 6 bolts are out, and the valve cover, ooh, it's still warm because I just drove the thing. It should, look at that, come right off of here. Ta-da! Great. Now, uh-oh. I don't see anything really obvious. Somebody's had this valve cover off before because there's cork gasket with RTV on it. But I don't see anything really obvious right now. Except a lot of RTV and cork. Oh, that's the one right there. Look at that. That's the noise. Well, that'll do it to you right there. I just happened to bond that. Dang. That is number 1. And it is the number 1 intake valve is something going on with that. Completely loose. Well, here we are right in the front of the engine. Check this out. What in the world is going on? Oh. Let me spin the engine over if I can with a bar. We'll see if that push rod goes up and down at all. That'll tell us if it's the lifter or the, yeah, the lifter. Let's do that. We're going to use the starter to whirl this thing over real fast, or slow. I got the fuel relay unhooked, so hopefully it won't start. Get this out of the way. Get out of the way. Oh. Let's crank it real slow. Let's see if it does anything. Ooh, that's good. The push rod went up. But it looks like it's not going up anywhere near as far as it's supposed to be. Ooh, she bent. She is bent. So the next question lends me to believe Why did that bend? Is the valve stuck? It definitely could be. See if I can push the valve down. Oh! The valve's working. Valve's definitely working. Doesn't take much to run it. It's possible when I started this engine, because it sat so long, that intake valve might have been stuck and it bent the push rod because they couldn't compress it. Now you gotta figure out how to get this thing out of here. I have to get like a pair of vice grips and like try to wiggle this thing and bend it a little, unbend it a little bit, try to get it out of there, because it's bent enough where I can't get it out. It won't just pull out. Come on out of there. Well, that wasn't good. Just broke that in half and dropped it down in there. That push rod just snapped off and fell down into the hole there. Now what am I gonna do? Oh my God, this is terrible. Okay, I'm gonna try this. I took 2 earth magnets and I stuck them on a piece of metal rod and I taped them so they can't come off, but they're super strong on the end. So one shot, I'm going to stick this in the motor and either make it worse or make it better. One of the two. See if you can lasso this freaking push rod out of here. Oh, this might be harder than I thought because it also wants to fight. But these are strong magnets, so I might be able to grab it. I think I grabbed it. But it was sideways laying down there. So I can grab it and drop it. I got to get it so I can get it up out of the hole, which is going to be super tough because it probably doesn't want to grab by the end. This might be nearly impossible. It's bent somehow. It won't come out. Well, here's what's got to happen. Since I can't get that out, I'm going to have to pull the top of the intake off and the lower part of the intake off to get to the valley to get that push rod out of there. And that'll allow me to put a new valve cover gasket on that valve cover, paint both valve covers, clean a lot of this up. It's going to just be a lot of work. It's going to be a real pain to get this out of here. There's a long bolt down in here that's going to be tight to get at. But I got to do it. I can't, obviously that push rod's broken off in the motor, so I have to do that. Okay, I've been wrenching for a few hours, and I've got a lot of this demoed out here. Got all the fuel injectors and the vacuum and all that pulled off the driver's side and labeled my plug wires. I've got the intake unbolted, which is a trick in itself. You got a 40 Torx bit down in the center of this intake. It's really hard to get at. I had to make a special bit, but I got it. So I think this intake should want to come right out of here. Just as simple as pie. Ish. Oh, EGR. EGR is caught. Ah, come on, man. Almost there. Be a lot easier on a pickup truck. Ta-da! Ford fuel injection. Oh, shoot. Did I just dump a bunch of oil out of somewhere? Oh, bam, look at that. Perfect. Look at that. Now we got access to the top of the engine. So what I need to do next is keep pulling stuff off here, get the rest of my vacuum lines out of the way. Let's see, the EGR goes right into the intake. That's interesting. All right, and then I gotta unplug the rest of the fuel injectors again, and get some of this out of the way. Let's see, the smog tubes, they're bolted onto the heads, the back of the heads. It all looks like they'll pull out of the way. I wanted to try to leave the distributor in place. Hopefully I can get the intake up and off and backwards, but I got some coolant lines in the front and stuff, so it'll probably make more sense to pull the distributor out of the way first off the market and remove that, and then I'll have better access. But this is a job and a half. I mean, to get the engine out of the van, you'd have to go this far. I've actually made a plate that bolts on the top of these intakes. When I pulled these engines out of things before, it's steel and has a shackle here where you'd barely be able to get up and get it up and out of the van. That'd be the only way to get this thing out, is pull it from the intake. But luckily we don't have to take the engine out. But just got about disconnect everything to get down to get this intake off. I like Ford stuff, but some of their ideas are pretty hokey with this sideways intake that covers up the exhaust or the valve cover. If you ever had to work on that, it's a nightmare. Everything's a nightmare. What's wrong with like just injectors and like a TPI GM setup or throttle body with a freaking thing out the front? What's wrong with that? It'd be easier. Okay, the intake's ready to come off. Here we go. Let me get in here and see how this works. Oh, just like that, apparently. Dump coolant everywhere. Aha! Here it is. That's why it wouldn't come out right there. Bent like a freaking S. Bam. Oh, there we go. Let me get the vacuum and suck up some of this action here real fast. Man, the intake galley here is clean as a whistle. Usually if people hadn't changed the oil, this will be full of sludge and stuff, but this thing is like brand new under here. Minty. So I can't crank the engine over without putting the distributor back in because I'll get off section there, but I just wanted to just wonder why that push rod bent. I don't see any obvious problems in here. There we go. I got that piece out. My part should be here tomorrow to put this back together. You gotta pull off the gaskets here, clean all that up, clean the surfaces up, clean everything nice up, get this valve cover off, and then clean everything up really nice. Got the front and rear gaskets here. Yep, get this thing right back into shape and slap the intake right back on it as soon as I'm going to put the push rod in first and put the rocker arm back on. Then I'm going to put the distributor in, and then I'm going to spin the engine over to make sure that it doesn't bend it again, to make sure we don't have any issues before I put it all back together and have another problem. So that would be prudent. But man, this is I got a lot of time in tearing down this. I just blipped in here, but I got probably about 3 hours in unhooking everything and tearing this thing down like this. Alright, it's the next day, and I've got the intake all opened up here, the other valve cover off, and I've cleaned everything up. I've been working on my surfaces. Took me hours to scrape. I took my pry bar and I sharpened the edge of it on the grinder. I used that to scrape the gasket material off, which was stuck on there really, really hard. But I've got the whole intake surface cleaned up now. I've put the distributor back in. I took that out when I took the intake off. I put it back in and locked it down. I had marked it with some reference marks so I knew where it would go, because I want to spin the engine over now with the... oh, by the way, the new push rod came in. And I ordered 2 rocker arms, but I'm going to reuse the original rocker arm. But right now I want to hook the battery up, and I want to crank this over and just run the lifter up and down on that #1 cylinder, and then get it to a point where the rocker arm is, or the lobe is down, and then we can put the rocker arm back on. And then I want to spin it over some more to make sure that there's not an issue with the lifter or anything like that. But I think it's going to work out good. And by the way, I got 4 push rods off Rock Auto for $5. 4 of them for $5, like total. They were $1.25 a piece. So we've got extras if there's a problem, but I think everything should be okay. I just think this valve was stuck, like I showed you earlier. I can easily push it down. Oh, I need a longer bar, but I can easily push it up and down now with a pry bar. So I think that maybe it was stuck, but it should be good now. Hold on a minute. Am I going to get electrocuted with the coil here? I hope not. Let me probably unplug the coil. Okay, let's try it again. There we go. Alright, so I just gotta crank this until it gets down. Yeah, that should be in a down position right there. Okay, it's opening the intake valve. Just open the intake valve. Now it should go 1 full revolution, and then it should open the exhaust valve. Opening the exhaust valve. Opening the intake valve. Closing the intake valve. I got the compression tester threaded into the front there, number 5 cylinder. Let's give her a whirl and see what it says. Ooh, that's good. 25 psi. So that's pretty good. We got good compression there. So the valve is sealing. And I just threaded it in there a little bit over finger tight, so it might have a little bit of leakage around the threads, but 125, that's good. That's a good pressure. Let's try her again. Almost 150 that time. 140, 145, 150. So that tells me that the cylinder, the valve is sealing with a rocker arm installed there. That's good. So I think our repair is complete. I think what happened is that valve was stuck and it just bent the push rod when it first fired up. It bent it. And now we got a new push rod installed. I am confident I can tighten the rocker arm down, torque it, and I've got to take the pressure off it, but I can torque it down, clean up the valley gasket surface one more time, get the gaskets installed, glue the intake back on, put the valve covers back on, and then start reassembling this whole engine. And we'll be back on our way to getting the Boogie van running again. So a lot of time invested in this. Obviously, that was a real big teardown because it's such a pain to work on these Ford motors, especially in the van under the dash. It was a real pain to get the intake and all that stuff off. But now I'm confident that that has been repaired. I'll torque the bolt down to 18 to 20 foot-pounds on the rocker arm pivot, and the new push rod appears to be working all right. We determined we got good sealing pressure with the compression tester, almost 150 pounds. So this thing's got good compression there. The valve is sealing, and the only thing left to do is put it back together, I guess, and get this thing going. Make sure that it runs again, and we're good to go. So I'm going to clean up my intake and start to get things assembled. I got all the gaskets. I got nice Felpro intake gaskets, and I got the Felpro blue valve cover gaskets, the ones that are really nice rubber that seal up really nice. So put some good quality gaskets in this thing, put it back together, and get it running again. Hopefully this is going to be the only issue with the engine. I'm happy that I was able to fix it and everything appears to be working correctly now. So there we go. A long repair, but it looks like it's turning up good and no other issues with the engine. So I'm happy for that. Can't wait to get this thing back together. Hear it run on 8 cylinders and be able to drive it around a little bit. Well, she's going back together here. Got the right valve cover on. I painted it the wrong gray, so I just dusted it with engine enamel, and it wrinkled the paint on me on the back of the valve cover, so that looks like garbage. I'm a little disappointed with that, but whatever. Nobody's ever going to see it. So I'm using these really nice Felpro crush gaskets. These are like the latest technology in gasket stuff instead of like cork and stuff like that. They're steel and rubber pushed together, and they torque down to 60 inch-pounds. So if you get yourself an inch-pound torque wrench, that's 5 foot-pounds or 60 inch-pounds. But they're real nice. You can reuse them. They tend not to leak at all, and it's better than gluing on cork and RTV and stuff like that. So I've got a pair of these. I've just got to wipe down this other surface of the head here, put this on, tighten down the other valve cover. You can see I've got the lower intake on. As soon as I get the valve cover on and get my wires hooked back up here so I can hook the transmission up, I'm going to spin the engine over one more time and put the distributor back in, just to make sure I got no issues before I put this all back together. Just crank it over some more, make sure that doesn't pop free. And then I can continue bolting it on. It's going back together easier than it came apart because I know what I'm doing now, and I know where everything goes, and everything's cleaned up a little bit nicer. So hopefully not too much longer. We'll have this thing back together. We'll be able to fire it up and see. Hopefully it runs mint. All right, here we are. It's the moment of truth. The motor's all back together. Coolant's back in it. Fuel lines are hooked back up. I've got my new fuel pump relay. So the key when I run this should turn the fuel pump on. Let's hear. Yep. So let me cycle the pump a couple times because all the fuel is drained out of it. All right, I hear the air going to the tank. So this thing should start and run on 8 cylinders. So we're going to try it right now. First try, here we go. Yeah, man, 8 cylinders. The computer's going to take a little bit while to learn, but holy smokes. running, appears to be running on 8. Definitely not clattering. I'm gonna let it warm up here. Look at that dual exhaust work. I gotta let it warm up. It's low on transmission fluid still. I gotta let that warm up in park and get up to temperature. But it appears to be running on all the cylinders, so that's a good sign. The computer's got well, the computer battery's gonna be disconnected again, but the computer's it's an open loop mode right now because the computer is not learning. But it appears to be functioning okay. Still burning oil off the manifold. It's got to burn the rest of that off there. Runs a lot better than it did before. I'll say that. Man, it sounds good. Yeah, man. Boogie van action. Bam! Bam, there we go. Apparently I fixed it. It's not clattering on the number 5 cylinder anymore. That's good. It's running on 8. It's running just a little bit rough, but you know, it's got the computer is not, it's an open loop and stuff. It's I'm sure it's going to clean smooth up, but it's hitting on all 8 now and not making any clatter. It's got a little bit of exhaust noise up in the manifolds. The pipe is a little bit loose around the socket maybe. It's I hear just a little bit of noise up there. I'm going to let it warm up so I can put some transmission oil in it, get it up to par there. The oil pressure is good. It's past center. It's got good oil pressure. I changed the temperature sensor. Hopefully that gauge starts working. My exhaust sounds good. Nice and mellow. And that was a lot of work to take that motor apart in the van, fix that push rod, but I'm glad I got it done. The Boogie van, she's running sweet now. All right, bam, there we go. I brought the van back in here. I've turned it around, backed it in. I'm putting a trailer hitch on it. I'm going to do that next time in the video. And then this thing is getting chucked outside for the rest of the winter. And I'm going to work on my 37 Ford. So I got this running. After I just showed you outside, I went and I set the timing. I drove it down the road just for like a mile. The timing was really retarded. And it was stumbling and actually like backfired once when I tried to lay into it really loud in the exhaust, like without the engine cover on. That was kind of exciting. So I went and I set the timing. It had, because I had a distributor out, I had tried to mark it, but it was about 15 degrees retarded. So I set the timing to 10 degrees before top dead center where this engine's supposed to be. And now it runs mint, but it got super cold out. I was doing it, it was like 4 degrees out and my hands got frozen. But it sounds super snappy now. It might just sound kind of lazy in the video, but now it's like, whoa, whoa, it's real snappy, and it drives 100 times better than it did there. So the thing is dialed in. We'll mess around with it some more and go do a drive video in the spring once everything's ready to go. But bam, fix that motor. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Putting a trailer hitch on the Boogie van right here at the Quick Speed Shop. This thing is awesome now. I love it.